All right, what's up, YouTube friends? So I wanted to stop in and say hi to everybody. How you doing? And just point out some things, right? Some things that have happened, like the examples that I plan to use is Bitcoin, which we've gone over. Do you remember the GameStop and Robinhood app, the investing app? Uh, we'll, we'll use that. Um, there was one more, but the point is, people come up with these really good ideas. They're usually creative. Like Bitcoin is really creative. Blockchain security, it can't be manipulated. It's creative. People come up with these ideas to create change, to better their lives and better the lives of the people around them. And it seems like every time that somebody does come up with these really good ideas to make things better for everyone, the result is always the same. Okay, so the third example that I was gonna list will be the first thing that we actually discuss here, and that's the Canadian protest, right? All the trucker protest. So these people were being inconvenienced by government overreach, and in response to make things better for everyone, they decided to actually do something rather than sit around and take it, which I encourage. If next time some shit like that happens and you come up with an idea on how to fix it, don't sit there and think about it. Do it every time. Anyway, they go to the Capitol building, the equivalent of the Capitol building, and they block off the commerce, which literally nothing worse you can do to the government than shut down commerce. They do that, and instead of any sort of dialogue or conversation between the government and these people, they just labeled them as domestic terrorists, called them criminals, white supremacists. The Nazi flag was hilarious because, I'm sorry, not the Nazi flag. The Confederate flag was funny because it's fucking Canada. What does a Confederate flag have to do with Canada? But they labeled them all those things, shut them down. You ain't making anything better. Sit down. And we'll see, this is a consistent response to anything that people come up with to make life better. So next is, of course, Bitcoin. The government isn't overtly involved with Bitcoin. So there's a currency that isn't taxed. It can't be manipulated. It can't be controlled directly. And generally it's a good idea. And the government comes along months ago. I think it was almost a year ago. They said, we need a way to regulate it and we need to tax it. That's it, right? They left it there. And then a little time passes and they haven't found a way to tax it. They haven't found a way to regulate it. So now we're at the point where if Bitcoin is not able to be taxed and regulated, it will cease to exist. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And if you don't, it won't exist. If they can't tax Bitcoin, Bitcoin's not going to exist. Again, same outcome. Someone tried to make things better, and the government says no. And lastly, and my personal favorite, so some weirdos on Reddit. If you're on Reddit, you're a weirdo automatically. But some people on Reddit who discuss stock topics. They realized that there was some funny business going on with the GameStop stock. And so they realized that if they took advantage of this, they could make a lot of fucking money. So they did. So they took the opportunity, they seized the opportunity, seized the moment, and they did it. They fucking did it. They beat the hedge fund managers. They beat them. Nobody can even, you can't question it, you can't deny it. They beat them. And so, of course, they are cyber criminals. They are hackers. There's a fucking hedge fund manager, on national news crying, literal tears, crying because he said it was because criminal activity and a sign of this and that, but it's actually because he lost so much fucking money. He was crying literal tears. But we see that the same thing happened. Robinhood shut down, wouldn't let you buy that stock anymore. It's pretty consistent. When people try to change things and make things better, the same thing happens every single time. The government steps in, turns the public against whatever good is being done, and then at that point they're free to do what they want, because if the public is against you, they can literally do anything and get away with it. Who's going to hold them accountable? Who's going to do something about it? Only the public can do that. And so the reason that I even bring this up is my last few videos have been about things out in the world. And I personally don't like venturing out into the world because it's a bunch of silly, backwards bullshit. Nothing makes sense. Everything is counterintuitive. So I try to avoid it. But it bothers me. It bothers me that the people who are elected, selected, whatever you want to call it, those people do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. The public, the biggest cult ever in the world, is totally oblivious to the natural order of things. And so the very things that people do to help themselves actually hurt themselves. And when someone or something happens that benefits everyone, it's almost like things aren't allowed to get better because of the people who are elected to make things better. And that bothers me. I don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, like, psychologically, but I don't understand how people can remain so oblivious that this continues to happen. Fortunately, I do think that the more absurd shit that happens, the more people become aware of what's actually happening. And so it's sort of like watching a Cold War between the government trying to keep people as dumb as shit. Man, there's so many dumb people. Between the government trying to keep people out of the loop and trying to protect themselves from what happens if the public does actually put the pieces together, while the public is going through the daily motions and slowly picking up pieces of information that contradict what they believe to be true. And it's just interesting, like, who's going to get to the finish first? So we know January 6th, people stormed the Capitol. If you think that was a storming, you're in for a real surprise. So when these people were let into the Capitol, because seriously, you really think a bunch of unarmed people ran up in a government building? You're crazy. Look at the security detail on a regular day for federal government buildings. It's not happening, especially that one. But anyway, they use that to build a wall around Washington, D.C. It's not really like a brick wall, but it's walled off so that people actually can't storm the building and do anything. So now, if for example, these politicians were to sign a bill that overtly was just awful and anything really egregious, slaughter people in the streets, right? And people wanted to fight against it, you couldn't do shit about it. If you wanted to run up in the building and like lynch politicians, you couldn't. If there's a big fence there, you're not getting in. No way. So they're free to do what they want without any sort of physical consequences. And that's been the case consistently since just a little bit before then. It's almost like they know what they're doing, and they know that what they're doing is going to get them ripped to pieces in the streets. And so, because they're aware of that, they are fortifying like a little layer of defense between them and the people who are going to drag them into the street. And that's what I mean by Cold War. Who wins first? Are the people going to realize what's going on and drag these politicians out and hang them in the street? Or will the politicians have so much protection between them and the people that it's already too late? It's really interesting to watch. Regardless, it just hurts my heart to see the stupid shit that's happening. And that's why the past few videos, that's the motivation behind them. But I do want to get back into more real discussions, less about this place and more about this place. But I mean, I guess we'll get to that soon, guys. I love you all.